The question is that the amendment be agreed to.
Mr Speaker.
I call the member Catherine Delahunty.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Green Party opposes the truncated select committee for every reason. One is that it's a ridiculous idea and it's an abuse of democracy and it's a tokenistic approach to what people in this House are claiming is an incredibly serious issue where they're so concerned about civil liberties, but we're going to have 3 days to talk about it. Get real. This is not okay with us. This is not acceptable. And it's not a real exploration of the issues. Just because the Law Society and some other bunch of very valuable people, the New Zealand Legislative Advisory Committee, they got a heads up. What about everyone else? What about the non-elite? What about the people, the non-lawyers, who are actually going to be affected by this bill? When are they going to get to have a say? They're going to find out they've got 3 days. So there's absolutely no way that we could support this truncated position. And there is no terrible urgency if you're serious about doing this properly. Mr Speaker, if the House is serious about doing this properly, which we should be. Have listened to the debate on the substantive issues in the bill, and a lot of very serious, important issues around a consensus on national security have been raised. So what are we going to do with it? We're going to talk about it for 2 days, and we're going to rubber stamp it, and we're going to ram it through by Christmas. Very, very unimpressive, even if we supported the bill, which we completely don't. It's a very, very unimpressive way to approach serious issues of human rights, civil liberties, and national security. It's not surprising because the government does this thing quite a lot, but it's not good enough either. So we would support Labor's amendment, but we'd like to go further than that. We think there should be a proper, full process that takes its due time, not necessarily just reporting back in February, actually giving a proper process for a decent select committee so that all of the range of people who have views on this issue, the experts on civil liberties, which are often people who have experienced that loss, with the communities that are going to be affected, the people who are potentially stigmatised by this legislation, all of those people actually get heard. We agree that there should be a national consensus on national security issues. Well, it's not going to be achieved, Mr Speaker, by this kind of railroading, abusive process, tiny, tiny little tick box attempt at democracy. And we all know that the select committee process is not perfect, but what we do know is that the select committee process does actually teach MPs things. We learn, which is a good thing, rather than us just talking to each other. And actually what we learn from the select committee process is that some of the things that we have drafted are wrong and stupid, and they have unforeseen consequences for people who we don't normally think about. So it's a really good idea for the widest possible group of people to have input into any law that potentially reduces our human and civil rights. We won't be voting for it, because we can't imagine that this bill is going to ever look like something we could support. But we would be a lot happier, Mr Speaker, if the select committee process actually was a proper select committee process. And when the member of the House tells me to get real, it doesn't get any more real than this. Today in the House, the SIS had to apologise, it was heard to apologise. There is a smear campaign out of the Prime Minister's office. We are supposed to be happy about the state of democracy in this country and extend powers to the SIS, who are a bunch of incompetents so far in my 61 years of life. We deserve a whole lot better than that. We need a whole lot better than that. And we will not support this kind of axing of the core democratic things that this Parliament is supposed to be about. So the Green Party is going to oppose this. We will support Labor's amendment because it's better than not extending the period at all, but it's not adequate, and we're pretty ashamed to even have to hear about this. It's just not good enough. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Yeah.